On this episode of Who Dem, out of all the things, I feel like he could have handled this situation very differently, but it seems to be sending him in a very panic mode that we haven't seen before.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, he's can be exposed. I always thought like maybe that would be kind of the thing I go and do like after all this is done.
Yeah, going to stand up.
Maybe I'll just go to open mic night and kind of try it out and see what happens. I think I'm funny. My wife says like, yeah, nobody gets your humor. Yeah. I sing in the shower just like everybody else, right? Yeah.
Is it the same route? Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Who Dem podcast. My name is Damian Galvan.
I'm Gil Cisneros, congressman from the California's 31st District.
Yeah, doing another episode today, Representative. How are we feeling?
I'm a little tired, but I'm here. I'm gonna do my part. We had a late night last night. I think we finished around just before 1 a.m. Got home about 1:30.
Why do they keep doing them so late?
You got me. I can't figure that out. Right? There's a lot of things I can't figure out. Like we this is like our third like really kind of late night that we had. They keep bringing things to the floor that don't pass.
Yeah.
Which I think like Nancy Pelosi would never do that. If she didn't have the votes, it would never come to the floor. But I guess that's kind of their thing now is they got to figure out what votes they don't have and then get Donald Trump on the phone to threaten everybody. And then they switch their votes.
Yeah, or give them a signed hat or something, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? That was Thursday. Wednesday, that was like the longest, I think that was the longest a vote had ever been open. I think it was 7 hours or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And it's just because there's more infighting on the Republican side now, or what's going on?
Yeah, they just, they don't support something, but then it's like, oh, no, okay, we understand you don't support it, and we get it, but now this is what Donald Trump wants, so we need you to switch your vote.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. And what did I'm assuming that they canceled something, did something bad if it's going this late. What were they trying to get done?
Oh, my God, what was it? They were trying to get rid of the money, like $7 billion to sponsor NPR, PBS, these programs, right? It's the,
woke Elmo.
Somebody called it the anti-Big Bird bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. They're just literally anything that is a public service.
Yeah. So, and the crazy thing, right, is that they're talking about how this is the bill to like save the government money. After they just added $4 trillion to the deficit, yeah. They got this bill for like $7 billion.
Yeah.
That, oh no, this is the bill that's going to like, save us money and to make sure that we're not overspending. We're protecting the American taxpayer.
I also heard that they incinerated like a £1 million worth of food that was supposed to go to some country instead of just sending it out.
That I didn't hear that, but that actually doesn't surprise me because that's we had some of the food companies come in, the ag companies come in Washington a couple months ago, and they're like, yeah, if we can't do it, then, what are they going to do with it, right? If it's rotting, they just got to get rid of it.
So they'd rather literally just incinerate it, get rid of it, than even make an attempt to send it out.
It's just it's just nuts, right? It's nuts.
It is. Something else that you did this past weekend was you went on the Necessary Conversation. How was that?
Yeah,
with Chad.
Oh yeah,
yes,
yeah.
With Chad.
That was on Sunday.
Yes.
He goes, I think this is one of the best episodes we had, and it's probably because his dad wasn't there. His dad, I guess, is having some health issues right now. He needs a hip replacement, so they said he's, Chad's mom was there saying, he's been in a lot of pain. So I totally hope, I'm like, hope he gets it done. Hope he feels better. We want him to be healthy.
Absolutely. And hopefully the Medicare cuts don't affect him
and
too
I feel
much.
like I need to come back to do get the full on experience with your dad on the show as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be extremely entertaining. Yeah. He just always says, we did the segment Chatter Dad. You can get a glimpse of kind of what that guy says all the time. Yeah. And I feel like Mom is a lot more like calm when Chad's dad isn't there. She seemed pretty tranquil on this episode.
Yeah, she was fine. She's still like full on Trump, right?
Yeah.
But it was kind of interesting, and this is, I think, what we're seeing a lot in the news right now, right? She was like, this whole Epstein thing could be the the thing that maybe finally gets her to kind of pull away from Trump.
Yeah. All of it. Did you watch? It was the Wall Street Journal last night. They came out with a report that now, I mean, is sending Donald Trump into a frenzy.
Well, now he's suing or something like that.
He's suing Rupert Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal as a whole, which like isn't a good idea because obviously if you sue, you have to go through discovery and things are going to come out. And I don't know if he's actually going to go through with it. But did you see the report itself?
I was kind of looking at some of it last night, bits and pieces, but I didn't actually read the full on article, but I did read some things about like how he said he was going to sue, and this is like going after the media and everything, and it's just
the report itself was that for Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday,
they all sent him cards and
they sent him cards, and he hand drew a naked woman, and he signed where her pubic hair would be with Donald Trump.
And this is apparently after, just the day before that, right? I think he was saying like, "Oh, we had a falling out. We weren't friends." We were friends early on, but not later on, and stuff like that. And we had a falling out. And I'm like, oh, maybe not, right?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it when you end. The last note was, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may this gives me like chills down my spine just reading it. And may every day be another wonderful secret. I mean, it is disgusting to say the least, but I mean, he was very clearly friends with him. And I feel like there's not, I don't get, I just, out of all the things, I feel like he could have handled this situation very differently, but it seems to be sending him in a very panic mode that we haven't seen before.
Of course. I mean, he's can be exposed. The weird thing is that I'm like trying to figure out is like, I mean, are you so narcissistic that you just think, you know what's going on, you know what you did, but yet you think it's applied to everybody else, but somehow I'm going to go through this, with nothing sticking to me, like, right?
Yeah.
And get through this with not being exposed.
Yeah.
I'm like, how could you not think that would kind of apply to you?
Yes. No, I remember there was a clip of him criticizing, I think it was Prince Andrew and Bill Clinton, and he was saying some things about both of them.
Yeah.
And then if you look at it, there's a report that he had dinner with Jeffrey Epstein, Prince Andrew, and Bill Clinton. And it's like you're saying there's a saying in Spanish that if you hang out with three drunk friends, the fourth drunk is you. And so it kind of seems like if you're hanging out with three guys that are doing things they're not supposed to do, the fourth guy that's doing things that he's not supposed to do might be the president of the United States.
But the mentality to think that somehow it's like, it doesn't apply to me.
You know where it comes from?
Yeah.
It comes from Roy Cohn. We talked about it before. The Apprentice. You haven't seen the movie, right?
No.
That one I highly recommend it, especially now because I think it gives insight. They do a scene where he's writing The Art of the Deal, and I didn't know this, but a lot of the principles in The Art of the Deal are Roy Cohn's principles.
Oh, really? Wow.
And so Donald Trump.
It's not even original.
It's not even original. And that's one of the scenes in the book where he's saying, I have these 3 rules that I live by.
Yeah.
And they're Trump's rules.
But they weren't.
They weren't Trump's rules. They were always Roy Cohn's.
What did I buy? I bought Jackie a book. It wasn't The Art of the Deal, but I think it was. Remember when that show first started, he had, I think her name was Carolyn. It was like, did you ever watch that show?
I did not watch The Apprentice.
So he had The Apprentice show, which I watched, and I was like there every time it came on, ready to watch it. But he had like 2 people that worked for him, and one was a COO. I think her name was Carolyn, and I actually bought her book, gave it to my wife, so she could read.
Something interesting about that show was I heard that there was a lot of it was one of the first shows to be very diverse in its casting as well. You had mentioned that Trump, he was the one that created the chief diversity officer position. And
when he was at the Pentagon, they, it's like the end, right? And his Secretary of Defense was like, talking about how great this is and we need diversity and stuff like that, right? And now it's like kind of all gone away.
Yeah, and that was another thing on The Apprentice. I was looking at it that it was the first one to have a very diverse cast, not just like racially diverse, but it featured gay contestants. It featured like literally everyone from all backgrounds.
But they never won.
Well, there you go. That would make sense. That would make sense.
There was, I think, on the first season, right? There was a black gentleman who was, I think, ended up as the runner-up that people really thought should have won, and I think even Mark, the owner of the Mavericks,
Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban, like offered him a job to come and run his like personal portfolio afterwards. But
did you see that Mark Cuban is trying to team up with Elon Musk for the third party that he's trying to build out?
I haven't heard that. No.
Yeah. Apparently, it's Mark Cuban and Andrew Yang.
Oh, really?
Andrew Yang is interested in. I don't know. I haven't looked into it that much. I knew Mark Cuban was very interested in talking to Elon Musk. Let's get the Roy Cohn rules, because I bring them up all the time and I forget to actually memorize them. But I think that relationship really, at least the way that it's depicted, I always take movies with a grain of salt, obviously. But
I mean, I think any biopic, right, always has kind of what they call like artistic kind of interpretations.
Yes.
And just to kind of bring that up, I watch a lot of old movies because that's kind of like what my parents kind of, I watch it with them. They raised me on. But there's one, Yankee Doodle Dandy, James Cagney, usually you think of him as like a gangster. He did a lot of gangster movies, but this was like a musical, and he was tap dance and sang throughout the movie. And that's what he won an Academy Award for. But he played George M. Cohan, and there's actually a statue of George M. Cohan out on Broadway.
Who's George M. Cohan?
He was a Broadway actor.
Okay.
Wrote a lot of musicals, wrote a lot of songs. You're a Grand Old Flag over here, over there. But there's a statue of him. If you ever go to Broadway in New York, there's a statue of him on Broadway.
Oh, okay.
But in real life, he was married 3 times. In the movie, he only has one wife, right?
There you go.
And it's living. Even actually in the Ray, the Ray Charles movie.
Yeah.
I think he was married several times in real life, but they only show him with the first wife kind of there. And even kind of like as they get older.
It just stays with one. Do you think that has to be like either narrative building or something?
Yeah, it's just like artistic interpretations, right? Yeah. So we got the rules here. If you want.
Yes. Attack. Yeah. Admit nothing, deny everything, and no matter what happens, claim victory and never admit defeat.
Yeah.
And they had Jeremy Strong play it from Succession. I don't know if you've seen Succession, but that's a...
I know him from... I did not see Succession, but he was in The Big Short.
I'm not familiar with The Big Short.
Oh my God, really?
I've said it multiple times. I'm so bad with movies and shows. I'm the YouTube generation.
So I actually read the book, and then I saw the movie, then I read the book. But The Big Short is about the mortgage crisis that happened in 2008, about how all these guys were shorting. They were actually betting against it.
Yes.
That this is going to fail. It's not right. There's no way. They're putting all these mortgages, these bad mortgages into like packages that people could go and invest in. And they're like, but they're like their 4th or 5th home.
Yeah.
Right. That they're getting loans for. And they were just giving loans to anybody at that time. And he was one of the guys in The Big Short.
Yeah, I'm reading an interesting book on that from this guy that was in the UK during the financial crisis. I think you would actually really enjoy this book. It's called The Trading Game. It's this economist named Gary Stevenson.
Yeah,
and it was actually it was a bestseller for the UK for like 40 weeks or something. It's been a really good book. Yeah. And he kind of talks about how he grew up in poverty. And he actually gets kicked out of high school at like 16 or 15 for selling drugs. Yeah. But he ends up getting into the London School of Economics during all of this. And he ends up doing something similar where once the financial market actually crashes, he gets into foreign exchange trades, short-term interest trades. And he starts just betting against the economy year after year because
Yeah.
people think that, interest rates are going to drop, but they just stayed high.
Yeah.
And so he kept just banking that the economy was going to have a slow recovery. And
Yeah.
he ends up bringing in like $1 billion for
Wow.
Citibank and like $30 million for himself.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting story. I'm curious, what drives you to be so interested in movies? Is it just something as a kid? Like, was your family?
Yeah, I think we just my parents, my mom especially, like really watched a lot of movies, watched old movies. It's kind of they would come up, so I just kind of really got into it too, right? So there's my wife Jackie talks about like, oh, that's like too old. Even my boys are kind of like the same thing. Oh, that's an old movie, but I'm like, it doesn't mean it's not good. It's like some of the Errol Flynn, Robin Hood is like that's still like an early action movie, but it's still like a wonderful movie, and it's got some great scenes that are shot. The Godfather, Patton is another movie that I'm a big fan of. I like the musicals, like I said, Yankee Doodle Dandy, Singing in the Rain.
Yeah.
Just a lot of like things, and the musicals kind of went out for a while, but now I think they're kind of come back with a little bit, like they did Les Mis like a few years ago.
They did Wicked as a movie.
Wicked, so musicals are kind of Steven Spielberg redid West Side Story.
So you like plays as well?
Yeah,
Like,
and here's
all types
something
of
right here.
acting.
I don't really usually talk about that, but I am a big opera guy. I do.
Oh, wow.
I love Puccini.
Do you sing yourself?
I do not.
Okay.
I guess I do, but I don't, right?
Yeah,
It's
sure.
not like it's good or trained or anything, right? But I'll kind of like, I sing in the shower just like everybody else,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Is it the same route? Like, were your parents also interested in when you were younger? Or is that something that you figured out
that's
on
something I just kind of picked up, and I don't know where I got that. I think when I was in college, like the Pavarotti and Placido Domingo and Jose Carrera, kind of it was kind of with the World Cup, but not really. But they kind of started doing these concerts in the same city where the World Cup was happening.
Mm.
They called it the Three Tenors,
Mm.
and I think I just kind of got into that, right? Where I kind of watched that one, and it was like, oh God, this is like actually kind of cool, like how they do that and everything. But and I think that just got me kind of more into it. So
Yeah.
I'm not and it's kind of funny with opera. Like I don't watch like new stuff. I just kind of like the classics. Like I said, Puccini. I my favorite is Tosca, but Carmen, which is another, what they call like A+ opera. One of the classics that kind of gets, and they kind of just get overdone, done and done. I think in L.A. they're in L.A. they're doing an operatic performance of West Side Story. They're going to do La Boheme and the Magic Flute, I think, this season coming up.
If I had to see one opera, what would you
Oh,
recommend?
I would say Tosca. Yeah.
And I've never been, not familiar with it at
Yeah.
all. Is it like is it similar to like other like ballet is the first example that comes into my mind where they're doing a story while also singing?
No,
like
it's definitely a story,
Okay.
right? So they're acting it out, but they're singing while they act it out.
is the whole thing sung, or
They
do like speaking lines as well?
It's sung like and they're all different, right? Some of the Mozart ones, they'll kind of, it's almost like there's dialogue, but they're kind of like singing the dialogue, right? There's kind of like little things, and then it kind of bursts into an aria. Or like Puccini is kind of just like aria, 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 right after there. Another good one, if you don't want to see like a long one, I don't think Tosca's that long. It's like 3 acts. La Boheme's like 4 acts. And those are like the classics. You would actually, not even being an opera fan, you would kind of recognize the song. But Pagliacci, which is about like the sad clown, right? That's actually a short one. So if you ever have that, might be a good one to kind of just test it out.
Yeah, that's something that you were mentioning how your kids don't like the newer movies. I was listening to a podcast with Are you familiar with Hassan Minhaj? Do you remember Hassan Minhaj? He was on the Daily Show. He had a Netflix show as well. But he does the show now that I've grown fond of recently. But he had Chris Hayes on from MSNBC, and Chris Hayes just wrote this book called The Siren's Call, which I'm really interested in reading personally. But I've been watching kind of him do the press rounds advertising the book.
Right.
And the whole book is about attention span and like the political economy of attention and how it's changing because of social media and phones and everything. And he speaks about how the difference, you can really see it in films, and how like the pace of films, and how earlier, like, you know, you would pay $20 to go into the movie theater and they knew that they had your attention for however long the film was.
Yeah.
Now they're fighting for your attention all the time. So, you know, the movies have picked up in their pace and the narrative unfolds a little bit quicker. So I feel like it's even hard for people in my generation.
Well, I think that's just kind of, I mean, it's our attention span now, right? It's like everything is so short. Everything's in sound bites. It's like, you know, you gotta get your point across in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna, you know, somebody's gonna go to the next thing, right? It's
They'll keep swiping.
Yeah, you know, you can, and it's easy to do that, right? With the way things are set up, and you know, watching things on your computer or whatever. It's not like, you know, when they had 3 networks back when I was a kid, right? You know, you had ABC, NBC, and CBS, and that was it. And then you had maybe a couple local channels. So you would just kind of stick with it.
Yeah, you didn't have much choice, but now you can pick whatever person, whatever side, perspective.
Yeah, and you can, I mean, you can go back to stuff that you liked, right? You don't even have to, it doesn't even have to be new. Like, it's like, oh, I like this episode of this show. Boom. And you can find it online, and you just watching something that you know is going to entertain you, right? That you already like.
I remember as a kid, like recording shows was still a thing. You would know that a show was going to come on at 9 p.m. and you would go into the guide and you would set it to record. And like now can't remember the last time that I.
I remember so I'm going to date myself here, but when I was younger, when I was in high school, you know, CDs were coming out, right? And that was kind of like the new thing, right? You had albums, vinyl, and then you had CDs, and the CDs were new, but they were more expensive. So I was still buying albums at the time if I wanted like music, right? Yeah. I don't know what happened to any of my records. I didn't keep them, or who knows where they are. But so I would still buy like albums just because I'm like, it's like $3 less. I'm like, these CDs are never gonna last. They're too expensive. Nobody's gonna keep buying them. The crazy thing is that I was right, but I was, you know, but it was for the wrong reason, right? It just kind of got old into where, you know, now everything's like streaming and digital.
Yes.
That you don't, you know, nobody has CDs anymore.
CDs had a very short lifespan, I feel like.
But that was like kind of like the new technology. Same thing with VCRs, right? That's how you would record your shows on the VCR. You know, you had your tapes, and the blank tapes that you could hit record on and watch something.
Sure. I was a little bit after the blank tapes. I did not get VCR growing up.
Yeah.
I had it straight on like the whatever dish signal would come through, just be able to record on that. But now, to your point, like I can just go on YouTube and I'll find if I missed an episode of something.
Right.
Like especially late night. I've gotten into I have eras in my life where I get into late night.
Yeah.
And I feel like late night shows, like, you know, Last Week Tonight, the one with Stephen Colbert actually just got canceled. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I saw that. And you know, the crazy thing was I guess he had the highest viewership.
Yeah.
Like out of all 3.
Yes, he's doing really good.
Yeah, but they're, you know, I guess it's just the nature of the beast in entertainment right now, and it's.
I don't think it's that. I think it's something more sinister. I think it goes.
You think because he's criticizing Trump all the time that they're kind of
Yeah, well, I mean, CBS is owned by Paramount and Skydance.
Right.
Or it's owned by Paramount, and they're trying to do a merger with Skydance. And to get that merger through, they settled the 60 Minutes lawsuit for $18 million. The person that's trying to buy Paramount, or the person that's in as a major player in the acquisition, is a huge Trump supporter.
Yeah.
So it just seems as the nature of, you know.
Yeah, I will say that thought kind of entered my mind too, right? It's like, oh, is this because, you know, so is like Jimmy Kimmel's very hard on Trump too all the time, right?
Yeah.
But
he's on ABC.
Yeah.
He has that fortune of being on ABC.
Yeah. It's that thought did enter my mind too, right? Are they going after him? Especially after kind of, you know, it was just right after the day before he was talking about Trump and Epstein, right?
Yes.
And then the next day it's like, oh, hey, we're canceling your show.
It has to be. It's the only thing that makes sense because, like you said, I mean, it's not like his viewership was declining. It's not like you know, another thing that could be reasonable is, we're moving it to digital platforms.
Well, I think they're trying to sell it as like a thing of, you know, people just don't watch late night anymore. They can kind of go and watch, like kind of like what you just said, right? They can just go and watch whatever they want.
Yeah.
and I guess there's like a Fox show they said that was kind of beating all the
Yeah, Gutfeld.
yeah.
No shot that Gutfeld is beating anybody.
Yeah.
Have you ever sat down and watched him
No.
do that? Is I can't even put words to it, but it is just the worst comedy that I think I've ever seen. It's just the jokes are there was a clip that came out of him the other day. He was I don't know if I don't think he's trying to be funny, but he was like, well, you know how black people, they reclaim the N-word. We need to reclaim Nazi.
Yeah.
And
I don't know where the joke is there.
Yeah, there's no punchline there, but he's the only one laughing, and everyone at the table's kind of just like, this is uncomfortable. But he's just an interesting character. Another thing that I wanted to touch on too was you have an interest in comedy. We learned that on the chat episode. You mentioned that you enjoy comedy.
Oh yeah.
What type of comedy? What stand-up comics do you like?
It's funny you were talking about how you go back and watch some of the old late night things or whatever.
Yeah.
Watch some of the episodes with Rodney Dangerfield on the Tonight Show when Johnny Carson was the host. You can find him on YouTube and everything. But I mean, that is I loved Rodney Dangerfield. I still love to watch that movie Back to School.
Not familiar with
oh my God,
yeah,
you got to watch that.
Yeah.
He's like this wealthy guy who's like, I'm going to go back because his son's like, I don't know if college is really working out for me. And he's, I'm going to go back with you. He was, it's a funny movie.
Yeah.
But Dave Chappelle, like Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock. I love Chris Rock. I actually think Chris Rock's kind of like a lot of people like Eddie Murphy, right? Never seen him live, but the shows that he came out, he had Raw and then Delirious when I was a kid, back when VCRs were the thing, right? So you go rent the video and the VCR tape and you'd watch the old Delirious.
That's how you would buy specials as well, I'm assuming?
Oh, yeah. They would do, now it's like everybody's got like a comedy special like on Netflix or
Hulu or whatever.
Prime or right. But now, I mean, they used to put them on video and you would go and rent them. But it is, I do love like the comedians and comedy and like I said, Chris Rock, I think is hilarious. I've seen him before live. I've seen Dave Chappelle.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a dream right there. I'd love to watch Dave Chappelle live.
George Lopez was a guy that I kind of early on became a big fan of his, as well.
Yeah, I remember that. That was nostalgic for me as a kid. The George Lopez show. My parents, ever since I was a kid, they would leave the TV on late at night.
Yeah,
and maybe like 2 a.m. would roll around, and you would just hear the Lowrider intro song and George Lopez flying across your TV screen.
Yeah, Fluffy's another guy that I've seen.
Yeah. Did you watch his he did what's it called? Oh my God, a sitcom.
Yeah, I where he was a teacher, right?
Yes.
I saw a few episodes, but I didn't stick, watching it.
Yeah, stick it there.
The nutso thing about all the streaming and everything, right? Is there's just so much out there now. It's like I feel like I don't know what to watch.
Yeah.
There's like just too many choices out there.
Yes.
I feel like when it was you just had the 3 networks, it was like, okay, this is what's on, and you could see, and you just kind of picked one.
Yeah.
And now it's like there's just so much.
Well, getting behind it too, and like if obviously for the show we look at like the analytics and stuff, and it's insane because it'll show you like, okay, 3,000 people like had your video shown to them.
Yeah.
And 1% clicked through.
Yeah.
And so it's like, wow, like all of these people, they only 1% of the population, because of all the options that they have, they'll stick to watch your thing. So you're always just competing in the space to try to get a better title, try to get a better thumbnail so that you can grab someone's attention, and the video starts and you got to keep them there too. And watching so many more people the space is becoming populated as well. I was thinking even with Stephen Colbert, like if I'm Stephen Colbert, I'm going to go start a podcast. I'm going to go do my thing on YouTube.
Well, that's what Conan O'Brien did, right?
Yeah.
So he, and his show got canceled, or when he got replaced with Jay Leno again, now he has a podcast. Yeah. And actually it kind of worked into I think a show where he travels, like on HBO Max or something. Yeah.
Yes.
That's kind of funny.
No, a lot of these streaming services are starting to pick up. Like, I think it was the same thing with Jon Stewart when he left The Daily Show. He got a show on Apple TV.
Yeah, he had the Apple TV, which I don't think it's going on anymore, but he has a podcast, right? Even like Bill Maher, right? Who, has his show, which has been on for 20 plus years on HBO.
Yeah.
But now even he has a podcast, right? It's like it's not just doing the shows not enough anymore. You got to do this other thing as well. I think he actually has a show where they come on and they smoke weed or something.
Oh,
like
Bill
that.
Maher, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I think I have heard about that.
Yeah.
I have heard about that. Bill Maher to me is just such an interesting character. He also has a show on CNN now, if I'm not mistaken.
It's his HBO show, but somehow they show it on. I guess they blurb out the words or whatever, right?
Gotcha.
But it's just a HBO show that's now showed on CNN.
Gotcha.
The same show.
Yeah, gotcha. That makes sense because I think CNN, the same. It's all Warner Brothers owns.
Yeah.
All of it, or no, it's not Warner Brothers that owns CNN.
Yeah.
It's another company. But yeah, no, watching everyone. It's the same thing with Chuck Todd. Chuck Todd was on MSNBC for a while, and he's now doing the Chuck Todd cast. I think is what that one's called.
Well, it's the who was it? Was it the Meet the Press guy?
Yes, Meet the Press.
Yeah, I mean, he left that, and then now he's got his own show. Like he's got a podcast now, right? It's like that's like the new kind of thing. I guess we're doing a podcast.
Yeah. Have you between legacy media and the new media space? Do you have a preference? Do you like what aspects of both do you enjoy?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of like coming in here, and I feel like it's just kind of like a free kind of thing where we can talk about whatever or do whatever, and you can say shit or whatever or fuck or and it's like not a big deal. But I don't know. I guess the structure, I guess, of the old media, I guess, kind of is the thing, which I think is good too, right? Because you just knew it was there, and you knew when it was going to come on, and you just kind of, you knew you were going to watch you'd watch the 6 o'clock news, and it'd go into World News Tonight, right after that, like 6:30.
Yeah, that's one thing that I feel like is bad. Going back to the choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at any time, I'm consuming news or I'm listening to a podcast that's news oriented, and I feel like, I enjoy it. I get a hobby out of it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have to do it for the show and the other projects that I'm interested in, but I feel like to a certain point, it's not healthy.
Yeah.
It's not healthy to always be able to get information that is.
Well, I mean, it's like my mom, right? You walk into my parents' house, right? And my mom always has MSNBC on, right? And it's just nonstop. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Can you watch something else?
Yeah. My parents are the same way. They do it with CNN.
Yeah.
I'm
like, what happened to the old movies? Throw an old movie on, right? It's just nonstop.
What's your favorite classic movie?
I don't know. I mean, The Godfather, I think, is probably one of my all-time favorites. I would say my all-time favorite movies is probably The Godfather and Patton.
Patton.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of Patton. I've heard of The Godfather.
Oh my God. It's the biopic of George C. Patton, who was a general during World War II.
Okay. Gotcha.
But George C. Scott's the main character, and it just does an incredible job acting as him. And he won the Academy Award for Best Actor for that role, but he didn't accept the award. Yeah.
Is there a reason why?
Well, he's like, it's like, this shouldn't be a competition. This is I just acting, and I don't believe in this. So yeah, he didn't show up to the thing. He never accepted the award.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like the figures like that in media are so, to me, I find it super interesting how someone can just, because obviously you're being praised, and some people they just don't want the praise at all.
And I don't know that he was anti-praise or anything like that, right? But he's like, this isn't a sporting event. It's not a competition. That's not why I do this. It's about kind of doing the best I can, in the role. And some people say it's I don't even remember who said it, right? But there was one actor who said the only really way to kind of judge an actor is to have them all play the same role and kind of see who does it best, right? Yeah. But how do you really kind of judge somebody? It's like you're nominating 5 people playing 5 different roles.
Yeah.
How do you know who's the best, right?
Yeah, and the style. Everyone's going to bring their own character, and they're going to do it their own way. So,
right.
Have you ever tried either with acting or with comedy? I'm interested in stand-up comedy. Have you ever tried to do stand-up comedy?
Oh no, I always thought maybe that would be kind of the thing I go and do after all this is done.
Yeah, go into stand-up.
Maybe I'll just go to open mic night and kind of, try it out and see what happens. I think I'm funny. My wife says yeah, nobody gets your humor. Yeah.
No, I would definitely be interested in seeing an open, like a congressional open mic night. How do you think that would go?
You know, they used to do a so CHCI. It's funny. Like my colleague Darren Soto calls it the Latino prom, but it's like a big kind of gala we have, and there used to be like different events that would lead up to the gala, and they used to have a comedy show. Where they would actually bring in comedians and kind of do their stand up, and everything. But I guess for whatever reasons, probably cost wise, they stopped doing that. But you would get like Linda Sanchez is pretty funny. Like she actually did an improv a couple years ago, I think, where we were in New York and we were at this thing and they did like a little improv show and she kind of was part of the little thing, kind of doing the little improv stuff.
Yeah. And I feel like both. You said that was in New York, or where was that?
Well, it was an event we had. It was in New York. It was actually when I started running for Congress again this time around. So it might have been like in 23 or whatever. They had a fundraiser out there, and one of the events that they did was this club, which was like an improv kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. LA has a good comedy scene. Between LA and DC and New York, I guess, now throwing it into the mix, do you think that any city in particular you like the most in terms of their comedy scene?
You know, so if you like improv, right, if you're in LA, go see Groundlings. That's where like a lot of like Will Ferrell and like some of the other people got their start who ended up on Saturday Night Live. But you know, one of the things I'm excited about and that I did, and we actually did an event there, was there's the Laugh Factory. So we have a comedy club in Covina in my district that they opened up.
Nice.
And it's actually got a lot of good.
And that's the Laugh Factory that they opened up there? I think there's a Laugh Factory. I don't know if there's one in New York, I think, as well, right?
There's one in LA and Hollywood, and there's like improvs. There's improvs all over the place.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, they have the one in Hollywood, they have California. I think they had one in DC here maybe at one time. There's one.
No, they have one here in DC.
Yeah.
They still have a DC improv.
But it's a comedy club, and it's kind of like a little chain now, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that with the fact that we have a comedy club in my district that you can kind of go to and go see things on.
That's
like
something I didn't get until coming to a bigger city was like an appreciation for the comedy scene. Because I liked it growing up as well. Like, the George Lopez, Gabriel Iglesias growing up, my parents would always throw it on. But it wasn't until I came to DC that I actually got to experience comedy, and I dove super deep into it right away. There's a nice venue over here called the Comedy Loft. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
I haven't been there.
It's nice. They have good food. It's a nice restaurant. They're great. It's a great scene.
That's actually kind of the same thing. Like there used to be, when I was in college, there was a late night show. Speaking of late night shows, came on Saturday. I think it was on Fox. This is the kind of at the beginning of Fox, where it was a 30-minute or an hour show, but it was just like stand-ups. They would have all these kind of like stand-up comedians come on. They would do like 10 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was the show. And that's where I kind of that's the first time I ever saw George Lopez. It was the first time I saw like a bunch of these other comedians. And then they would always kind of put on the thing, like where they were going to be, like at the bottom of the show. And so it was actually when I was in college was actually when I first I was home for a summer in California and we went to there's a comedy club called the Comedy and Magic Club in Hermosa Beach, California. Jay Leno I think he probably still does, performs there every Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah. And when he was on The Tonight Show, he would actually do some of his jokes, kind of like test them out there.
Yeah, he would test material.
But I still think he performs there every Sunday. And that's like, I'll never go see him in Vegas because I now can go see him for a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Here at this comedy club that he's at every Sunday. But that's where I saw like George Lopez for the first time. And then like I came to shows here in DC where it was kind of like a thing now. Like I was like 21, so I'm like, oh, I could go to these clubs now. So we'd go to comedy clubs and go see like different comedians that I would see actually on this show, and then like, oh, hey, they're coming to DC, let's go.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I see they'll post up, that this comedian is coming into town or this comedian's coming into town. For me, it's so different, and I didn't really understand how different it was. Like watching, it's similar to sports, I would say, where like watching it at home is one thing, and you still get excited, you'll still laugh or whatever. But watching a comedy show in a venue, especially a comedy show that's going well, and everyone's laughing, it makes the jokes hit so much harder. Everything about the experience is
like I had seen, and to that point, right? I love the Seinfeld show when it came on. I watched it like every Thursday night or whatever when it came on, and I had seen some kind of like videos or tapes of like his kind of thing, and I thought, yeah, it's all right. But when I actually saw him live, it was just a totally much better experience, right? Of seeing her.
I wonder what you think.
He just seemed like so much more funnier live, than kind of watching him like in your house, on TV.
It's the atmosphere, I'm assuming, right? It has to be just like everyone's there having a good time, like expecting a laugh. It's a great.
But that's like one of the things. Like whenever when you live in California, Los Angeles, like Vegas is just like a quick little kind of getaway. It's kind of like here, I guess if you're in DC, you're like, oh, let's go to Ocean City like for the weekend, or you can go just run to Vegas for like a weekend. But whenever we do that, we always go to like a comedy show or comedy club. Like we just saw Jackie and I went there for our anniversary, and we went and saw Russell Peters, who's he's a comedian. He's Indian. He's Canadian. He's of Indian descent.
The name rings familiar, but can't put a face to it.
You would probably know him if you saw a picture of him. But he was actually really funny.
What's your favorite performance that you've gotten to go see live?
I don't know. I think the Chris Rock one, I think, was like and Chris Rock is just like really like funny, right? Again, a lot of these comics, like Eddie Murphy's kind of like the the hero and the big guy, and me too, right? I think he's funny and hilarious, but I kind of think as far as like, Eddie Murphy did it, right? But he didn't stick with it. Like he got into movies and he stopped doing stand-up. He hasn't kind of gone back to it. Or like, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, all these like Jerry Seinfeld is, always been kind of adamant about like, no, I will always do stand-up. Jay Leno has always done, and he's actually lived off, and he said it, like, I live off my stand-up money that I kind of go and do, right? That I don't know what he did with all the Tonight Show money. I mean, hopefully he's going to make a big donation to some charities, like whenever that time comes. But he's like, no, I live off my stand-up money. But these guys have stuck with it, right? Where Eddie Murphy has just kind of done it. And I think like Chris Rock too, despite doing the movies, despite, other things that he's done, he's always stuck with the stand-up. And I think it's just, when you look material-wise, like what he's done and how much is out there compared to like Eddie Murphy, I think Chris Rock is just, to me, is like, he's my favorite.
Yeah, Chris Rock. I also, the first place that I know Chris Rock from is Madagascar, where he played the zebra in Madagascar. But as I got older, I also got familiar with a lot more of his comedy. I watched his Netflix special. I think it was called Tambourine. Really, really good. Dave Chappelle's another one too, where obviously I didn't get to, I didn't grow up with Dave Chappelle in his prime. I've gone back now and watched the Chappelle Show and seen some scenes. That whole saga to me is so interesting. And I remember the first time that I heard like, well, yeah, he gets offered like a $40 million contract to continue doing the Chappelle Show, and he falls off the face of the earth and goes to Africa for a bunch of years.
I know that show was funny. It was the Chappelle. It's funny. Like you watch some again older movies, right? Like New Jack City is like Chris Rock's like the drug addict in that movie. He's in like I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. Was it that? Yeah, which was one of the movie made by I think the Wayans brothers, right? That he's in there. He's got like a little part in there. Sure. Dave Chappelle, like Undercover Brother. He's he's in that movie, and I think he was actually in another movie with guy. Who was the other guy? The other funny guy, Martin Lawrence.
Martin Lawrence. Not familiar with Martin Lawrence.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No.
Oh, yeah. There's another like comedian came up like in the 90s, early 2000s. Became an actor. He's the one. He does those movies. He did the movies with Will Smith where they're like cops.
Oh, okay. Yes, those I am familiar with.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get into.
But you see him as actors, right? You don't know that. Yeah, he was like a stand-up comedian. He was the original host of Def Comedy Jam which was, are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am familiar with Def Comedy Jam. Yeah.
Yeah, which was, this HBO show that would come on, like, I think, like every Saturday night or something like that.
Yeah.
But he was the original, Martin Lawrence was the original host.
One thing that, going back to the material and people doing stand-up, I've heard that different comedians do have different approaches with, like, whether they decide to keep doing stand-up or not. Some of them just say that it's refreshing, and there's some that they're doing, like, their show, they have a show every night, and they're like, yeah, no, still 2-3 nights a week. I think, what's his face? Trevor Noah.
Yeah.
Trevor Noah is one of those guys where he says that he has to keep doing stand-up.
Yeah.
Because it's just refreshing for him, and it's what he ultimately loves. One cool thing about the new era, I don't know if you're familiar with Josh Johnson. He's this up-and-coming comedian. He, I actually had the chance to interview him a year ago. It was about 2 years ago now, almost. And it was a year ago. He's super interesting because he was on The Daily Show as a correspondent, or he is on The Daily Show as a correspondent. And when I interviewed him, he was still just in the writer's room, and he's doing a show up in New York. And just like off whim, I sent him an email, and I'm like, hey, you want to do a podcast together? And, his manager responds, and we set this whole thing up. We go to his hotel room. It was a great time, but like a big premise, a big thing around the show is just like, he's like, I'm not successful yet. Like, we're filming this in my 3-star hotel room. Like, I haven't made it yet. But he, at that time, had hired a videographer, and he was starting to record his stand-up sets.
Yeah.
And he was starting to upload them on YouTube. Now he went back to New York, exactly where we had filmed that interview, I think about a year later. He sold out a venue with 15,000 people.
Yeah.
Just completely sold out. He had to do back-to-back shows. He has an opening act now. It's crazy to see how now comics are using social media to get to the Netflix special. And he just considers himself a YouTube comedian. So he uploads, it's impressive, 40 minutes of a set once a week to be uploading. It's like that.
A lot of those guys, like, I mean, you can go, maybe it's the what is it, the analog or a logarithm or whatever we call it. But like maybe because I'm watching comedians all this time and looking at it, but like, it's like my feed is always like, comedian after comedian after comedian.
Nice. Yeah. That's a good feed to have. My feed is just all politics, and it's terrible. I've tried to fix it now.
Yeah.
I'm a big NFL guy. Huge. Like that's where I get my leisure. Girlfriend complains about it, every Sunday. It takes me back to at home. My mom would complain about it too. It's like all Sunday you gotta waste your whole Sunday watching your team lose because we're Falcons fans. So we don't do too well too often. But I've been trying to get more into fixing my algorithm to just show me sports stuff instead of politics stuff. But that's you're now using social media a little bit more. I remember when we first started the show. I mean,
I always kind of I shouldn't say that. I never used it right, but it's I don't like. To me, it became the thing, right? It was a way to connect with old friends. It was a way to stay in contact with people. So to me, that's still kind of the main thing that I think I kind of use it for. It's a way to just like share pictures of the family, right?
Yeah.
And everybody can see it. To me, that's still kind of the number one thing that I use it for, right? But I don't like, but I'll like, I think just like anybody else, right? Time when I'm bored, I'll just kind of
doom scroll.
Yeah,
just doom scrolling. Just waste like an hour. Somehow it just flies by.
Just kind of see what's out there and like what's being posted. But yeah.
What do you follow any content creators now, or do you have a?
I do because he was on our show. So I do follow Jolly Good Ginger now, so I get all his political stuff kind of like popping up. But I don't really kind of, I think it is interesting though. I do. There are some people that I kind of follow who have just kind of been able to kind of build this career. There's this. When I was at the Pentagon, I started following this. One's a sailor, one's a Marine, that I started following like online, just to kind of like a content like kind of thing, right? And it was something that I thought like when I was Undersecretary of Personnel, I was like, hey, we need to use social media more to kind of show that, because I think the perception for young people was just that like, oh, I'm going to be in a uniform 24/7. There's like no time off. This is all I do. But now you can't actually have a life outside of
Yeah.
It's the military. You do actually get time off. You can have a personal life. You can go and do things that you like and have fun too. And I felt like we needed to kind of share that more and do more. So I started following these like I said, that Marine and that sailor is kind of because they had like personal lives, and I'm like, we need to do more of this.
Yeah. Showing the authenticity.
Right. But everybody was always kind of worried that, it's like, what if they do something that we don't agree with and it's going to put us in the wrong light? Now we got to like share.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you got to trust them. You got to trust them. But, and I am still kind of, I will say, fascinated how people have been able to kind of build a life and career.
Yeah.
And whether it's in politics, whether it's,
something else,
just sharing their life.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Out of, being a YouTube star or whatever we call them now.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, what are they doing? They're not really doing anything. They're just kind of like living life.
Yes.
But yet it's like,
but people are interested.
Yeah.
In
They got like, 5 million people watching them.
Yes.
Live their life.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, to me, that's just fascinating that people are able to do that.
Yeah. No, the one that, growing up, it's not as popular anymore. But there was a lot of family channel, or at least maybe it's not as popular for me. That's the thing with the algorithm, right? Like I say it's not popular anymore, but for someone else, it's all that they're seeing.
Yeah.
Was like these family YouTube channels.
Yeah.
And it was just like they would like literally all film themselves, just existing as a family. They would obviously you have to like
house was a mess. Kids are running wild.
That's the thing, right? They would never have any arguments. The house was always clean, and that's how you knew the videos were a little bit too scripted. But no, those channels were always just super interesting to me. The same thing, my parents would have the critique of like me watching, people playing video games growing up.
Oh, my boys watch that.
Yes, my parents would get so mad at me. They'd be like, "Why? You have the game. Just go play it. Why are you
I
watching
know.
someone
I'm
else
like,
play
why
it?
are you watching this? Just play it." And they're watching some guy play the game, talking about it, and sometimes they're talking about the game, and sometimes they're just BSing.
Yeah, talking about something else.
Yeah,
talking about something else.
I'm like, well, if they're not even talking about the game, it's like not like you're getting tips.
Yeah,
yeah. We got to wrap this up here because I got to get going. But it is, the last thing I talk about. Like my boys are young, right? I'm an old dad. They're 11. I'm like, we had them when I think I was 43. Yeah, I was 43 when we had them. But I talk about like the old, I go, I like my Nintendo from when I was like, 15 years old or 12 or whatever, right? The baseball game only had 4 players on the screen, and it was fun, but you played the game.
Yeah. I
tried playing with one of my sons, the new like MLB game.
The show, yeah.
Oh my God. It's like, he took like 30 minutes setting up his team. And I'm like, can't we just play? Let's just play the game. And he's like, oh, I got to put this pitcher in and like there. And it's like setting their levels of how well they can do. And I'm like, let's just give me my old game where we could just play the game and we didn't have to worry about all that other stuff, like to just setting it up, right? It was just there.
Yeah, that's how my friend Dylan is too. I'm not a big baseball guy, so we'll play the show together, and he's switching out which hitter's gonna hit first and who's on the bench and who's throwing where, and I'm like, okay, I don't know.
But they're all like that. I mean, Madden's the same way too, right?
Yeah.
Now you got all the players, the real players.
Yeah.
Complaining about their ratings on the show and everything, and it's like just play the game.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
all right.
With that, we'll wrap it up here. I appreciate the This was, I feel like, the most casual. I really did enjoy just talking about comedy, talking about reality. We have to talk about reality TV. That's one thing that I wanted to hit on because I am super interested.
We can do. I am a reality. That's another one of my vices, right? That kind of like, how do I get it? But I am.
Reality TV.
I do like my reality TV.
Yeah, I have an idea. We'll have to talk about it. It's the Real Housewives of Congress. We'll see if we can make it a reality TV show. But with that said, we appreciate everyone listening. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Who Done Podcast.
All right.
Yeah.
Good seeing you, everybody. Thanks.
Awesome.